A startled yelp caught his attention, and he sighed. Someone had got too close to Kasparos, and the legionary had knocked the mortal sprawling. The braver among the citizenry had the inadvisable habit of trying to touch the hulking giants in their ornate armor, to see if they were real, perhaps. Talmar loomed over the stunned man, little more than a youth, really, and seemed poised to finish what he'd begun. "Calm yourself, Kasparos, or I will do it for you," Fabius hissed, as he grabbed the other legionary's shoulder. "He meant no harm. They are only curious, as we would be, in their place." "They should keep their hands to themselves," Talmar said, slapping the apothecary's hand away. "As should you, spider." Fabius stepped back, hands raised. "I meant no offense, brother." "What you mean and what occurs are often two entirely different things," Talmar said. "You should have stayed in your web, spider. You speak softly of them, but look around. You frighten them more than any of us." "Enough," Fulgrim said, his voice like quiet thunder. The crowd fell silent. "This is not seemly, my sons. Are you children, to brawl in front of strangers?" "My lord, the spider," Talmar hesitated, seeing Fulgrim's expression. "Apothecary Fabius has insulted my person. I would have satisfaction." His hand fell to the hilt of his sword. Fulgrim sighed. "And how has he insulted you?" "By comparing me, comparing us to these primitives," Talmar said, glancing at Thorn, who nodded. Fulgrim frowned. "And why should he not?" Fulgrim looked around, noting the mood of the crowd. They were on the cusp of flight. Talmar's sudden burst of violence had frightened them, shaken them to their very cores. Stories would spread, flying through the city, and from there, the rest of the continent. Awe would turn to fear, fear to resentment, and resentment to resistance. He had seen the same story, repeated ad nauseum, on a dozen worlds. Fulgrim had always preferred love to fear. Love was stronger. Fear could be conquered, but love? Never. It waned and swelled, but it never truly faded. He had made himself loved on Chemos, and he would do the same here. The Primarch sank to one knee and reached down to help Talmar's victim to his feet. The man stared at him with mingled fright and awe, his mouth working soundlessly. Fulgrim smiled and stood. "I came from nothing," he said, fixing his sons with a steady gaze. "I scrabbled in the quarry pits and down in the deepest mines, carrying buckets on my shoulders because the ascender blew a gasket," he said. "I broke my fingernails on raw ore and grew blisters from heat and labor. You look down on them, blind to the beauty of their struggle, blind to what they might become if only someone would scrape the filth from their faces." He reached down and lifted a child onto his shoulders. The girl laughed and clapped, unafraid of the giant, even as her mother wept. Fulgrim indicated the crowd. His voice had driven many of them to their knees. "Look at them, my sons. You are the highest, and they the lowest. It is your duty to raise them up as high as they will go. Anything less is not worthy of you." Excerpt: Fulgrim, the Palatine Phoenix.